Hey everybody, and welcome to Don't Copy That Floppy, your weekly video game news podcast with your hosts Lex
and Booge.
Yeah. So we talk about video game news stuff on a weekly basis. All sorts of industry-specific stuff, weird stories, sometimes movies. Why won't Sonic go away? Who knows?
Never go away.
It is October 6th. It's Friday, because that's when we do this. And we have actually not as many stories as usual, because it was a slower news week this week.
Very slow news week. It's I think we're in the vacuum before the big October, November, December rush.
Yeah.
So it's things are a little slow at the moment.
Mm-hmm. So we have stories this week about a hidden picture in every Xbox. Also stories
a pigeon
about
in every pot.
Yes. Also stories about the Nintendo Switch production, PlayStation boss leaving the company, Overwatch bans and Overwatch events. Also, stuff about an upcoming Tim Schafer game, the fact that Pokemon is now 20 years old, and the Sonic movie that just won't die. We're going to round everything out at the end with a look at games that just came out and games that are about to come out. And let's just jump right into it. Chris, tell me about this hidden message.
So, in every Xbox One X, which, once again, that naming convention.
Wait, is it also in the Xbox One S, though?
I don't think so. I think it's the only in the Xbox.
Oh, okay.
Which, yeah. Inside of it, there on every one on the circuit board is a little portrait of a little tiny Master Chief riding a little tiny scorpion. For those of you that don't remember, Xbox One's original, or not, it was Xbox One X's original project title was Project Scorpion. And apparently they stuck to that naming convention. So I guess that's a kind of an interesting find. I'd like to know who cracked open the Xbox One X and found that.
I assume modders, right? Probably.
Yeah. They said it was noticed by a Spanish YouTube channel, Uno Cero. And I guess they were like just checking out the technical specs of it and happened to catch that little guy in there.
That's fun.
That's fun. I remember there was something similar. I think it was the GameCube that had a dolphin on the circuit board.
Oh.
Because that was originally a Project Dolphin.
Oh, all right.
So I think it's cool when companies kind of keep these little things around.
Yeah. Good on them. You know? Mm-hmm. Speaking of dolphins and Nintendo.
Dolphins and Nintendo.
Yeah. Okay, this has nothing to do with dolphins, but it certainly has something to do with Nintendo. The Nintendo Switch, it's been sold out everywhere for the longest time, all the time, ever, forever.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody wants it, and Nintendo didn't really feel like making enough of them. I mean, I guess, to be fair to them, and I don't see any reason to be, in hindsight, but it certainly wasn't projected to do as well as it has done.
Mm-hmm.
However, recent reports indicate that its shortage problems may soon be over, at least according to this CNET article from October 6th. So, Nintendo has reportedly upped the production for this console significantly, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much I can believe them.
Yeah.
But we do know that as of today, or maybe yesterday, you can buy a Switch on Amazon for a normal retail price for like the first time in months.
Yeah. This is I don't think this is too shocking because I've said it before that Nintendo does this artificial supply constraint thing where they hold back to get everyone, super hyped and on edge about this thing, and then they wait until the holiday season and they're like, here it is. And then they just unleash it onto the masses, and then everyone buys it and becomes the hugest fucking thing in the world. So it doesn't surprise me. There were, going all the way back to them claiming that there was competition over like the touch screen aspects because they were like competing with Apple to see how many they could make and shit like that.
I think it was the RAM chip, actually.
Was it the RAM
that
chip
you're thinking
of?
Yeah.
So who knows? What is real and what isn't. But it's certainly good timing for them because we're right around the corner from holidays. Everyone is talking about the Switch, and the like the SNES Classic, and everyone's talking about Nintendo. Everyone wants a piece of that Nintendo booty, and they're coming right around to a time when they can actually have it. So something that interesting. I didn't put this in the news roundup, but this also connects to the fact that Nintendo's shares have jumped up to a 9-year high on Tuesday.
Oh.
Which it's and some of that is because they're working out deals so that they can start selling the Switch in China, which is not available in China yet. And they've been working some deals with Tencent, who is a big Chinese company, and they'll probably get it through, and they'll probably sell a dickload. That is a factual scientific amount, a dickload of Switches in China and around the world. When I was looking at that, I didn't notice that you couldn't buy consoles in China until 2014.
Yeah, no, we did a bunch of stories on that when it first happened.
Really?
Because I thought it was like a fascinating thing about like what players or what game makers and console makers were able to get in there and who was able to sort of corner that market. And it was super interesting. There was this weird thing where the way the market exists right now, or at least the way it did in 2014, I'm sure it's sort of morphed now that consoles have been introduced. But the way it existed in 2014 was, since there hadn't been consoles, there was like this small contingent of the population that was interested in gaming where your games would cost like $60, right? Mm-hmm. And you'd need like a really nice computer to run them. But the vast majority of people would do lower end computer gaming. So more basic MMOs and stuff like that, I think. Yeah. So when they tried to put in consoles into the market, it didn't initially do very well because that people just weren't used to paying that amount for consoles and games. So they like didn't know what to make of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. That would explain why, like, there's tons of those, like they're some of, like, the most popular games in the world, and they're just, like, these random things you've never heard of, and they're all, like, sprite graphic MMO RPGs that are just really weird looking and super Chinese, and it makes sense.
Yep.
Because it's, like, that's a huge part of the world's population, and if they're all playing that, then that would be very popular. But, yeah.
So Nintendo has apparently raised its production order to 2 million units a month, and I assume that will last through the holiday season. Mm-hmm. So that should give them enough to deal with stuff. Let's see, I don't know if it says in this article, I don't think it does, but there was something I was reading earlier that was talking about their sales projections and how I think they had initially projected like less than 10 million. Mm-hmm. And they have now sold more than that. And their new adjusted projection as of semi-recently is 20 million. And they're on the road to hit that amount with this new production order.
I can totally see it exceeding that pretty easily. Yeah, they're the hot shit right now. Mm-hmm. Nintendo's the weirdest fucking company in the world. The fact that they can crash and burn so hard for almost a decade and then somehow pull a fucking rabbit out of their hat and turn all this stuff around. I'm sorry, a rabbit out of their hat.
Oh, man.
Man, I'm hungover.
So, let's move on to a different game company.
Yes.
Also from Japan, but we're not talking about one of their Japanese businessmen.
No, though he does speak Japanese, as you've seen in videos with him and Hideo Kojima.
Oh, yeah, that's true. So Sony PlayStation boss Andrew House has just stepped down from his post of, running all that PlayStation stuff.
Hello, this is Andrew House.
So this is a story that broke October 3rd. And Andrew House has been with Sony for a real long time. I think it was like 27 years. Yeah, 27 years. But he's only been in charge of PlayStation specifically for the past 6 years. However, those were the 6 years that mattered because that was when the PS4 was in development and released.
Yes.
And the PS4 apparently just makes like so much money. I think I was reading I don't remember if this is true or not, so don't quote me, but I think I remember hearing about how like the PlayStation part of Sony makes like more money than any other part of Sony.
Yeah.
By,
yeah,
like,
they
a
are.
Significant margin.
That was a while ago, but I'm pretty sure it was not only that, but they were the only part of Sony that was making a profit. Like, their film division was not turning a profit year to year.
Well, okay, we don't expect their film division to turn a profit because it's horrible. But
yeah.
But you'd think that like a lot of their other electronics, like their televisions and stuff,
maybe
would turn more of a profit, especially because video games, especially consoles, are thought of as a money sink. Like, you need to either have a wildly successful console or you need to have a console be popular and then sustain that popularity for several years for the companies to make their money back on it. That's kind of always been or at least that's the way the business model has worked in the 21st century. So it's interesting that given that PlayStation can still be like the most profitable thing Sony's doing.
Absolutely. I mean, well, you think people are using consoles more and more for different things, you know? It's like, why buy a set-top box when you have something that can play games, stream Netflix and Amazon, and basically can act like a web browser, you know?
Well, it's funny because it is being used like that, but that's not... Like, when we all remember when the Xbone first was coming out, and Microsoft took the concept that you're talking about and tried to just force it down our throats, and everyone reacted super negatively to that. But then that's what they ended up using it for anyway, basically. They just didn't want to have the Kinect.
Right. And it's just, I mean, once again, it's all optics. Because if you have all that stuff and don't tell anybody about it, people are going to end up using it. But you have to be like, no, we're for gamers first. And does Sony really give a shit about that? Maybe some of them do. But, you know, like, ultimately, people are going to use what they want to use. But if someone tells you how to use something, you don't want to use it that way. You know, people don't like being told how to use their electronics and their property.
No,
you know?
Especially not gamers.
Yeah, entitled Western white men gamers.
Yes.
So anyways, Andrew House.
So he's leaving the company. He's leaving it in the capable hands of John Codera, I believe I pronounced that right.
I guess.
Who is currently the deputy president of Sony Interactive Entertainment. And will just
some guy who no one's ever heard of.
Yeah. And he will become the CEO of Sony's PlayStation division. So I don't know too much about him.
This is an odd one. It's an odd move. I wonder, like you said, it's strange that Andrew House is leaving. I don't know if he said he's leaving, why he's leaving. I mean, or issued a statement or anything like that. Because it may be that he's just like, well, I'm leaving on the top, you know, like maybe that's a good move to do. But because, like he's been overseeing PlayStation during like their most profitable, successful period ever. And Andrew House leaving Sony, I think it's interesting because they are basically like they're at one of their all-time highest ever in the company's life. I wonder how much of it is if he's just like, you know, I want to leave on top, I want to leave on a good mark, or if there's some kind of internal reconfiguring or whatever. I wonder what the case is.
Yeah, I mean, I assume that it's not... Like, it can't be because he didn't do well for the company. That much is clear, because he obviously did very well for the company. There could be some internal drama, perhaps, but I find that unlikely because we might have heard some inkling of it, and just the fact that he's been with the company for such a long time with, like, zero mention of anything weird makes me think that's unlikely. So my assumption is it's just that he's, you know, been with the company 27 years, he made a bunch of money, and like he might be looking to retire or something, or just like chill out, and he wants to leave on top. And,
or start his own kind of project,
or take a bunch of his money and start his own project. That would totally be reasonable. That would make sense.
Yeah, because it's very similar to when Jack Tretton left, who was the former CEO of PlayStation America, I think. I think that was his title. He was the guy. He was like the the guy with like the New Yorker accent that would come out on stage, if you remember him. Uh, and was the guy that launched the PlayStation 4. He was the guy that announced the price at that big event when he's like, "And yep, this is the price," and everyone freaked the fuck out. And they're like, "Yeah, there's full backwards compatibility. You can use your game." But yeah, he left on top. And like when asked about that, he was just like, "Yeah," he's like, "I was at the top. I turned the company around, and now I want to challenge again. I want to. I think that some of these guys, these like big CEO types, they have that kind of like problem solving mentality. When if there's no problems to solve, they probably get really fucking bored. Like if you're doing really well, then it's just kind of boring. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much this John Codera is going to change or not change, because I really do wonder just how much like the vision of the CEO really has to do with the games that come out and the hardware that comes out.
I mean, I assume it has much less to do with the games that come out, but probably a reasonable amount to do with the hardware. I would.
Yeah.
That's my assumption on it. And with, hardware stuff, how often are they putting out hardware?
Yeah.
So you really just need your CEO to shepherd you through the generation shift. And then beyond that, I don't really care about them very much.
Although nowadays there's been more and more. I mean, we got Sony VR, and we got now we have basically like these iPhone-esque console changes with like more powerful versions of each one.
Yeah, the industry definitely seems to be moving in that direction, which is actually very disappointing because I don't know. I mean, just get a PC. That's what you want to do.
Exactly. Yeah, it's fine for me because I'm a PC guy anyway. So I'm like, everyone's like freaking out. It's like, is this what consoles are going to become? Like, yeah, that's what PC's been doing forever. Just calm down.
Yeah, it's great. Embrace.
Yeah, but you can get a mouse and a keyboard. It's wonderful.
You'll aim so much better in all your shooters.
I know. Fucking what the hell? So it'll be interesting to see what Andrew House does next. Sony's the big dog on campus. And if John Codera can keep steering that ship, then they'll remain on top, I believe. I don't think that you'll ever see Microsoft come back the way that they were in like the 360 age.
Oh, really?
I don't think so.
No, I could totally see that happening because
Really?
it feels like every generation we have some sort of weird shift like that.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing I was talking. Like, that's why I mentioned like the kind of the new consoles that are coming out, because I'm not even sure if we're gonna have like another big generation shift like we've seen before. I don't. I'd be surprised if it happens as traditionally as it has in the past. But
So,
I'm not a soothsayer, not a fortune teller.
listen, there's been a lot of fortune telling on this show.
Yes.
Since it started, and let me tell you something. Dan made a lot of mistakes. You made a lot of mistakes when you first judged the Switch.
The first show I was ever on.
Who's been consistently always right is this guy right here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
you always come out on top. Should we play some numbers in Vegas?
Every time. I've never been wrong about anything. So listen to me.
Lex, never wrong about video games. Mandrake is what they call you.
Yep. No, that's my gamer tag.
Right.
Except there are like slashes before and after it, and like 420 blazon stuff.
XXX.
Yes.
On either side.
Uppercase, then lowercase, then uppercase again.
Exactly, because you're super straight edge like that.
Yeah. So, speaking of online communities, stuff like that.
And dumb names.
Hey, you ever played Overwatch? So, okay, this story is from this site called .esports, which is not a site I really know very well. I thought it was kind of a tantalizing story, so I put it in the roundup. But I can't speak as much to its validity because when it was reported, I found this site as a source, and then I found one other site that was similarly like small potatoes as a source. So
I think we've used this site before.
Okay, because I don't recall, like maybe I have, I don't remember.
It was on some other like Overwatch League news or something.
But this is about how there's been a lot of stories over the last couple weeks about Overwatch and its community and them trying to stamp out toxicity. And Jeff Kaplan, like, I think it was last week or the week before, Jeff Kaplan did this whole thing where he, I forget what they're called, but he did one of those Overwatch update things that's just like a video of him talking.
Yeah.
And he discussed how the devs wanted to spend more time working on features of the game, but they were too bogged down in trying to police the community because the community is so toxic. And his whole thing was he was just pleading with people to be nicer to each other so he would have more time to make game content.
To actually make the game.
And it was sad. It was just really sad.
Yeah.
So more recently than that, they're on the Overwatch forums. Apparently somebody posted I think it was a topic, saying that the balancing team needs a replacement. In my humble opinion. I like how it's in brackets for the quotes.
Yeah.
So it was obviously the IMHO thing.
Yeah.
In my humble opinion, this is outrageous.
This is outrageous.
And that sounds kind of annoying, but it doesn't really sound that bad. Apparently, the response to it was to ban that person for 30 days from the forums.
Yeah.
Which seems pretty extreme.
A little bit.
Yeah, and I understand that the dev team and Kaplan probably get a lot of hate, a lot of really nasty hate that they're very concerned about and try to stamp out quite a bit. And I'm sure a lot of it happens on those forums, although more of it definitely happens over voice chat while playing the game. But yeah, no, and I'm sure a lot of it happens in those forums. So I think because they've been trying to police it and because they've been hit with it so hard in the past, now they've just gone to like a zero tolerance policy, is what this says to me.
Fuck it. Want to play our super popular game? Be an adult.
Yeah. But you won't be, because if you're playing a super popular game, that means everyone's playing it, which means children are playing it.
Act like an adult, I should say.
So, let's see. He talked about this. He said, Jeff Kaplan said, make a productive post, either clearly stating an issue that you're having or make a productive suggestion. We won't tolerate demands of people being replaced on these forums. See you in 30 days.
Banned.
Banned. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's... On the one hand, it's the Overwatch forums, so obviously they have final say, and it should be more of a policed community. I feel like it seems reasonable for it to be.
Yeah.
If for some reason Blizzard was coming down on people who were like tweeting about the sentiments like that, with that, then I would probably have a much different stance on it. Yeah. But yeah,
I also think Jeff Kaplan maybe just having a bad day.
he's probably just having perpetually bad days, especially since he's spearheading this initiative to make the players less toxic, which makes him an even bigger target for trolling. So I'm sure he's getting a lot of that in the last couple weeks. And
like, to be on Jeff Kaplan's side, like, yeah, he's in the absolute right to do whatever the fuck he wants with the player base. But it's also like that's probably something that they do take seriously, because it's like they're talking about like the livelihoods of people, like their jobs, you know, and they're like, they need to be fired, you know. It's like that's probably something that would upset a game director in charge of a large team of people, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because this actually reminds me a little bit of something that happened during VidCon, I think, and I don't think we covered it on the show, because it wasn't directly video game related. It was kind of ancillary, because it was YouTuber stuff. It was YouTuber drama. But it was sort of the after effects of Gamergate stuff. And I think it's similar to this situation. I'll explain how.
Lex, I thought I'd never have to hear that word again.
Oh, no. We're going to listen.
But pull that dead horse out of the mud.
But Anita Sarkeesian was doing a panel at, I believe it was VidCon, but I can't exactly remember. And one of the people who shows up and sits in the front row of the seats of that panel is this dude, this YouTuber named Sargon of Akkad, I think.
Yes.
For
yes,
some
I
reason,
know. I
he
remember
named
this.
himself after like a Mesopotamian, I
Yeah.
believe, which is like the weirdest thing to me. Like that's the thing about him that I don't understand. Like the fact he's a horrible, hateful person. Like I
Yeah.
totally expect that. It's just his choice of username and persona confuses me.
Yeah.
but
It is very strange.
but maybe him and his friend like Hammurabi just doing a lot of.
Yeah. Writing codes of laws and
Mm-hmm.
hating women.
But no, so he and a bunch of his friends sit in the front row. And during the thing, I don't know if he necessarily even did anything in particular. He might have made some like hand gestures or something, or he might have. I don't even think he was booing or shouting anything. Although
they were just asking like provocative questions.
yes,
basically,
and
to
they
the panel.
weren't being aggressive about it.
No,
But he
they're just
clearly
being general dicks.
but they clearly did a thing where they like the panel was taking questions, so then all of his friends just lined up and just one after another asked annoying questions, and it was very clear that he was just trying to troll her in real life.
Yep,
Which
and boy did she get trolled because she freaked the fuck out.
she did, and she yelled at him and swore at him and told him to get out of there. And when I first saw that, I thought, okay, well, she overreacted. But then I thought about it a little more, and like I said, it reminds me of this situation where you have somebody who gets abused constantly by people on the internet, specific people on the internet about specific things, and then eventually you just get to a point where all of their reactions are going to be super harsh because that's what's been ingrained into them, right? That's the only way they can react to stuff.
It's like a soldier, you know. It's like you get like PTSD with this shit after a while.
And that's why like I can't really blame Sarkeesian in that situation. I can't blame Kaplan in this situation because I feel like they're just dealing with so much garbage that they don't like their tolerance for it is just gone.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially in Kaplan's case because he's the fucking game director. Like he's the guy making the game that people are bitching about while playing the game he made. Like it's a very odd relationship.
There was also a thing, and I think it was last week or maybe it was earlier this week, about how people were talking about how maybe the reason why, in relation to his comments from a few weeks ago, about how they didn't have enough people to police everything and work on content. Some users said things like, "Oh, okay, maybe they just need more people. They should hire more people." And Kaplan's response to that was like, "You guys know that like our team that we have on Overwatch right now is bigger than it was when Overwatch launched." which maybe you don't know, but that's like ridiculous.
Yeah,
that's not how games work.
No. That's a straight up only in Blizzard move.
Yeah.
Like
even games like I mean not World of Warcraft but other MMOs.
Yeah.
Typically game companies shed a significant percentage of their
it's a burn rate.
Yeah. And
usually the turnaround's pretty crazy, and it's just like, okay, out you go, we're done with the game.
So the fact that like they're offering a larger team and more support to Overwatch than all like most other games on the market actually was really encouraging to hear, because I thought, oh well, I mean that's probably one of the reasons why Overwatch is such like a fine-tuned machine all the time, because there's so many people working on it.
Yeah. I mean, like Blizzard are amazing game designers and they make very smart maneuvers, but a large majority of why their games have so much polish is because they have enough money to give themselves enough time and personnel to make them polished. Like it's just a matter of time and how many people you have polishing a big old shooting turd.
Yeah.
Although it's not a turd, it's a great game.
I mean, I think that one of the things I realized the other day when I was after we did a story where we talked about Overwatch is I never talk ill of Overwatch, which is weird because I actually don't think it's that great in a lot of respects, but for some reason it never comes up on the show, because even though we do talk a lot about microtransactions and loot boxes, it's usually in relation to other games that are being more egregious with them, like Shadow of War and stuff like that. But Overwatch is still like not cool in that department because they're a $60 game that you then have to pay for loot boxes for to do
It's
stuff.
a $40 game.
Okay, all right. But
or
it's
like 50 or something. I don't know.
yeah, it's one of those things where it's like it doesn't really bother me in phone games, and we talked about this at length last week, but it doesn't bother me in phone games as much because the game's free, and it doesn't bother me in like even Hearthstone, a different Blizzard game, because Hearthstone is free, and then the loot box thing is like really a kind of like a core mechanic of the way the game works.
I mean, it's a collectible card game, so buying cards is kind of, you know.
But with Overwatch, it's more glaring because A, the game has an initial price tag, and B, like randomized loot boxes don't need to be there at all.
Yeah, but it's only cosmetic things.
But it is only cosmetic things. All right.
And I've in all my time playing Overwatch, I've never bought a box because who the fuck cares about sprays and costumes?
Yep. Yes.
IMHO. That stuff is ridiculous to pay money for.
Though, one last thing about Overwatch, its Halloween event has been confirmed.
Overwatch.
Overwatch. So this is Overwatch's Halloween 2017 event, adds new skins, Halloween terror dates confirmed. So this was actually like the most lackluster reveal ever, because the reveal was literally like a 7-second, like basically a GIF that was McCree and Reaper in their outfits. McCree has like a Van Helsing type outfit, and Reaper has a Dracula type outfit. And
I'm watching it right now. That was it? Oh my god.
Yes, that was it. It's 7 seconds.
No, yeah, that's just.
And then it brings up the same logo that they had for last year, except it says 2017. But it has I forget his name, like the Dr. Junkrat guy. He had a different name, and I'm blanking on what it was. But the doctor, the mad scientist Junkrat, little image thing, which was their big thing last year because they had like an event with bots and stuff, and he was like a central piece of that. But I assume that it's not gonna be about him again this year, because that would be weirdly repetitive. Maybe it is. I don't know. So his image appeared in the promotion again. That was strange to me.
But they couldn't get Matt Mercer in there to be like, it's Halloween.
Yes. That'll definitely happen. That's... Yeah. But we're going to find out what all this stuff means on October 10th when this shows up. And it's going to go until November 2nd. So if you are super into Overwatch and you loved last year's Halloween event, hopefully we're going to have some cool similar stuff like that in just 4 days. Goodness.
Oh, the co-op mode, like a horde mode thing. That's
yeah. Oh, Junkenstein's. That's what the... Junkenstein, that was his name.
It's Junkenstein. Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't play Overwatch back around last Halloween, so I've not seen... I'm new to the boat, so I don't know all this stuff.
Oh, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, that horde mode was great.
Cool. I'll have to check it out if my graphics card comes back. I RMA'd my graphics card, by the way. A little fun side news.
Ooh.
So that's out in the mail, and see what happens.
Well, all right.
Luckily, I did have a backup.
Thank goodness. Yeah.
No, that was an update. Well, that's a new segment. Booge's graphics card RMA update. Okay.
Yes. Excellent. So, moving on to Psychonauts. Psychonauts was a great game.
I never played it.
Oh, it's great.
It's one of those classics that I've never...
It's like a really solid 3D platformer.
Yeah. Really funny
my
writing.
only gripe with it is that I'm not that into 3D platformers, so it's just a type of game that I'm not that into. But I still recognize that it's like fun and well made and whatnot. Great art style. Kind of what you'd expect from a Tim Schafer joint. But Psychonauts 2 is something they've been working on for quite a while. They financed it on Fig.
Yes, Double Fine made Fig, so makes sense that they'd finance their own game for it.
Yeah, but they showed off a whole bunch of gameplay of it.
Yeah.
It's pretty much what you expect.
Yep.
They're doing platforming, running around this world. And
Yeah.
it's interesting. It's like a 14-minute video. It's worth watching if you're really interested in what's going on with the game. It's basically like a dev diary because they have all of these asides where it's like the developers talking about why they made certain decisions about different levels and gameplay mechanics and stuff like that. But in terms of the gameplay, you're just seeing the main character jumping around.
Yeah.
It's nothing.
I watched a little bit of it, and it just struck me again. It's just one of those times it struck me. I'm like, making video games is real fucking hard. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's a
tedious
process.
Yeah, it's but yeah, no, it looks pretty cool. But there is something about. I'm also never been a huge fan of like 3D platformers besides Mario games, just because they're the best of the bunch, generally. But there's something there's this look. I don't know if they're using Unity or Unreal or whatever, but it's like the look that like Yooka-Laylee had and this game had. Like there's this look to new 3D platformers that I don't like. It looks kind of like sparse and I don't know, like flat.
But what about the Insane trilogy?
I don't think I've actually seen that game in motion. I just read about how well it was doing in the UK for about a month.
Yeah.
It's that might be like the new Ratchet and Clank game had that too. Like it's I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it. It has like this kind of soullessness look to it, like that just kind of puts me off.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a certain thing where in the N64 era, when games looked like that, it was cool and cutting edge, and we kind of expected their the sort of sparseness or flatness because it was like, oh well, they literally can't do any better than that.
Yeah, because the N64 is a draw distance of 2 feet.
Yeah.
So,
but now that like new technology exists, it's weird to see people try to make those kind of environments again with modern technology, because it feels weird to us because we've been conditioned in recent years to expect very different kinds of environments out of our games.
Right. Yeah, totally. And also like, we have I think that gamers nowadays have a better palette for like retro stuff like pixel art and whatnot than ever before. So it's like we have a very refined taste, some of us, for what is good and classy looking and what's kind of trashy looking. And maybe it's like, I think it might even go down to like the type of engine that is used, because like Sonic Boom had a lot of problems, but one of them was that it had that look too, with that like Unreal flat 3D platformer look, that game was also a fucking nightmare of problems anyways, but
was that the game with T-poses?
Probably.
I remember there was like a lot of videos that came out about it where you would load up either a cutscene or like a zone or multiple cutscenes or multiple zones, and it's like, I don't think you would typically load in as a T-pose, but like everybody else would.
I wouldn't put it past the game. I know in that game, if Knuckles has this jump, this like double jump, if you pause it and unpause it right at the right time, you can make him infinitely travel upwards and break the entire game. Because like it's like an open world 3D platformer, and there's points that are gated, like, so you're not supposed to get past like a gate until you do a thing to get to the next area. But if you just do that infinite jump thing, you jump high enough so that you can break where the boxing is in the world, and then you just clip through the ground and fall down into the next area, and the whole game fucking like freaks the fuck out and doesn't know what to do. It's pretty great.
Nice. Speaking of freaking out and not knowing what to do, some of us felt this way when we discovered that Pokemon has now turned 20.
It's 20 years old, and kill me now. I'm almost 30 years old. So Pokemon, if you've never heard of it, who are you? But Pokemon is getting a new movie. It is its 20th movie, which is fucking insane.
Yeah, I didn't think it had that many, but I assume there's a bunch that are released in Japan that I've never heard of.
Oh, probably. And the new one is called I Choose You. And it's basically a retelling kind of the original show. So it's Ash Ketchum as a kid, and he goes to Professor Oak, and there's no he can't pick one of the three there because he was slept late or something. I can't remember exactly what happened. But he gets Pikachu, and they become buddies, and they go on the Indigo League and do all that stuff. The interesting thing, if you watch the trailer, the interesting thing is that if you remember in the first episode, and we're getting into the weeds here because like when it came out, I was probably like 10 years old, and I remember watching the first episode. But at the end of the first episode of the original series, it came out in '98. You see Ho-Oh, the like legendary Pokemon Gold Pokemon, fly overhead, and he's like, "Whoa, the world is full of magic, and we are friends, and whatever, Pokemon." And that's it. They like that was just a little tease. And for people that had played the game, like, "What the fuck is that?" You know, and little did we know that they were working on Gold and Silver at the time. And instead, in this trailer, it shows him like get a feather, and then it looks like the whole plot of the thing is like finding that Pokemon and like going on crazy adventures, often different places and shit. But it is super nostalgic nonetheless. And yes, it also makes me want to fucking murder someone younger than me because Pokemon is turning 20 very soon, or already has. I'm not exactly sure when it came out in Japan. But I definitely remember it coming out in like 98, 97, 98.
Yeah.
Were you a big into Pokemon?
Nope, not at all.
No, never were?
Nope. I played some of the games because they're like fantastic games. They're really good. But I watched a couple episodes of the show and I said, this is dumb, and never watched it again. And I looked at the cards and I said, these are okay, I guess. And then I looked at Magic the Gathering cards and I'm like, these are way cooler.
Well, see, because you're nerd prime. Because like we're about the same age, I think, so we're probably around like 10 years old when all the shit was coming out.
Yeah.
And like I went down the anime path, and you went down the Dungeons and Dragons path. Mm-hmm. Those paths split. Yeah. The show is horrible. The movies are bad. Like, it's all bad. It's horribly written garbage. But it's super nostalgic nonetheless. It's like the way people from the 80s look at Transformers. It's all horribly bad. But, it's your childhood. Because I remember going to see the first Pokemon movie. I remember leaving
Pokemon
school.
the movie 2000?
Yes. Was that the name of it?
I don't know. It might have been.
Yeah, it was the first one. I just remember it being the first one with Mewtwo and Mew. And it was, I remember actually leaving school a little early to go see it. My parents picked me up and went with a friend. And I was super excited and watching. I thought it was awesome. And then I watched it again like 5 years ago, and I was like, this is fucking stupid. This is really, really bad. And at the end of that movie, Lex, they save the day through friendship and love.
Good.
And tears fly out of Pikachu's eyes and cures all the petrified Pokemon, and that it's really stupid.
Amazing.
Anyways, yeah, this is just kind of it's interesting. Like, they did this, and I think they did a show called Pokemon Generations like last year, which actually is like a retelling of the game, the like Red and Blue, the games. Not like, it wasn't Ash, it was like Red and Gary, like were the two, or Red and Blue were like the two antagonist protagonists. And like, I think it's interesting what the Pokemon Company is doing with the nostalgia of their customers. I think that they're actually handling it pretty well. They're not like doing real dumb shit yet. Yeah. So good on them, I guess.
Yeah. Speaking of companies that do really dumb shit all the time.
You said doo-doo. But they do, yeah.
Yes.
Sonic is awful.
Sonic.
So apparently Paramount has acquired the movie rights for a Sonic the Hedgehog film, a moving picture, Lex. And it's unfortunate. According to the Hollywood Reporter, Neil Moritz will act as the film's producer, with Tim Miller of Deadpool fame acting as executive producer and Jeff Fowler set to direct. The movie will apparently be a mix of live action and CG, with the latter no doubt intended for Sonic and Friends.
Oh, it'll be just like Smurfs.
The mix of live action and CG is always a great phrase you want to hear. What's the over-under on if this ever actually happens?
I don't think it will. I'm pretty sure that it won't actually happen. Although, I don't know Jeff Fowler's work. That doesn't ring a bell. But Tim Miller is certainly hot right now because of Deadpool doing so well.
let's see, Jeff Fowler. He did visual effects on Where the Wild Things Are.
Oh, well, that looked really good.
It did look good.
I can't imagine anyone with the creative integrity to work on Where the Wild Things Are wanting to work on Sonic the movie.
Well, he was apparently animation research and development for that film. He's done like nothing. He was born in '78, so he's relatively young. He sounds, you know what he sounds like? He sounds like all these fucking... He's like a new Hollywood director where they just pluck these people out that like do maybe one interesting thing, and then they're like, "We're putting you in front of a $500 million Marvel movie." And I'm pretty sure they do that just because they'll say yes to anything the studios want.
Mm-hmm. And that makes sense. And that makes sense when it's Marvel or it's Warner Brothers doing that, because there's that machine behind them to push the movie forward. But that's their, like, I mean, Paramount isn't small, but
they're not Disney.
It's not the kind of force that I don't think that it's going to get this movie made. Also, why wouldn't they just make the movie entirely CGI? Because, like, just go the freaking Pixar route with it.
Yeah.
That would be fine. That would be so much better than trying to have it be like, go the weird Smurfs route. Ugh.
Yeah.
All those movies are just such trash. So
yeah.
If you thought, oh my gosh, a Sonic movie, I hope it's not trash. The quote about it being CGI and live action should just certify for you that yes, this is Sonic movie certified trash.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's Sonic, so it's nothing Sonic touches is good.
No, I mean every once in a while they get lucky and do something right. But it's like,
when was that?
When Sonic 2 came out, all right?
Oh, sure. So, you know...
Also, I think Sonic Mania is great.
Or whatever.
You disagree.
Sonic Mania? Oh, the new Sonic? The new, like, fan Sonic game?
Yes.
Well, fan-made, then turned fully produced, I guess.
Yes.
It looks great. It looks great if you're a fan of those original ones.
Yes.
If you're a fan of you have the wrong opinion.
It turns out if it's a good game in that genre if you like that genre.
But it's not its own genre. It's just a bad platformer. That's all.
But
it is,
also, although I have never watched any of it, people have said really good things about like one of the Sonic TV shows.
Yep, Sonic Sat AM.
Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, well, they can actually make Sonic like media content, like animated media content that people can enjoy. But again, I think it's one of those things where it's like they got like a 1 in 10 chance to make a good Sonic product. And given the lineup of people who are associated with this, I'm keeping that at 1 in 10. I don't think there's much chance that this movie will either happen or, if it does happen, be worth checking out.
Yeah, they're putting it all on black, you know. They're putting it all on 00 black.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's I find it so interesting that Sega or whoever owns, I'm guessing some portion of Sega owns like the some of the media rights to Sonic. I find it so interesting because like I don't, how do they keep trying and failing like with all this stuff? Because like Sonic Boom had a TV show come out with it.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was a cartoon show that came out with that. I don't even know what the fuck happened to that. Did anyone watch that? Like, what? Like, how do they keep on pushing this stuff? You never see, or almost never see, Nintendo push anything Mario for media outside of video games.
And it would actually work if they did.
Probably. But that's the thing. They probably know it's super fucking hard, so they're like, we'd just rather make, good games.
The biggest mystery is that Sega hasn't gone bankrupt doing all these stupid Sonic ideas over the years.
I know.
Like, how do they keep having the money to do more of them? How do they have the money to do this movie?
Yeah, seriously. It blows my mind. I mean, I guess the thing is that, like, there are just people that fucking love Sonic and they'll buy, like, I think they turn a profit on every Sonic game they make, no matter how horrible it is. Like, people just buy it because it's like My Little Pony stuff, There's people that are just into it, like, really hardcore. And they'll buy up every little bit of it. But yeah, Sonic movie.
Ooh.
I hope it's based on Sonic 06, just so it'll be real fucking horrible. Also, the picture they put like I have an old school picture at the headline. I miss little fat Sonic. All the redesigns have sucked.
Yeah, no, he's great as little fat Sonic,
Yeah,
especially because he's supposed to be a hedgehog, so it's
yeah,
funnier that he's kind of portly.
right.
But yeah, so now we have reached the end of the show.
The end of your life.
And we're going to talk about some of the games that just came out and are about to come out. So, as I said, it's the 6th. So, we just had Battle Chasers Night War come out for the Windows, the PS4, and the Xbone. At some point, that will come out for the Switch, but it has been delayed, I believe, and they don't know. They don't like have a release date for it.
Okay, it's one of the worst titles I've ever heard.
It's pretty bad, but I've heard much worse.
Oh, totally. Interesting thing, I don't. That's one of the THQ Nordic games, I think, which is a fucking fascinating whole story to itself, and with them.
No, I actually think it looks like a pretty solid game. It's good art in it and everything. It's something that I definitely would consider picking up for the Switch. Who knows when it'll come out for that.
Who knows?
Forza Motorsport 7 for the Windows and the Xbone. Yeah, whatever. We have Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen came out for the PS4 and the Xbone. Stardew Valley came out for the Nintendo Switch yesterday.
Yeah, I love that game.
I am torn between buying that or buying Golf Story because they're the same price, and I only have enough money for one.
Well, I've not played Golf Story, but I can tell you that I've probably sunk about 200 hours into Stardew Valley.
All right.
And it's very... I mean, if you like Harvest Moon and then a lot of other things, like if you like Harvest Moon dating simulators, roguelike dungeon crawlers, and like economic simulation games, then yeah, get Stardew Valley, because it's all of those things.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. There's just so much depth to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we also have today Layton's Mystery Journey for the 3DS.
Ooh.
Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga plus Bowser's Minions for the 3DS.
What's up with fucking Nintendo with the Plus shit recently?
I don't know. They love weird naming conventions like that. They're all about it. Oxenfree for the Nintendo Switch, which is weird.
I've heard good things. I've heard good things about them.
It looks strange, like a strange indie game. But yeah, no, it probably is pretty interesting.
It's a little adventure gamey kind of deal.
Mm-hmm. And then on the 10th, we have everybody's favorite microtransaction machine, Middle-earth: Shadow of War. It's coming out.
Which is funny. I didn't put this in here, but although all the controversy, it's actually been getting really good reviews.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I'm assuming that it's a really well-made game that just got a bunch of microtransactions, like, crammed into it.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, I'm sure it's going to be one of those things where you play the game and you're going to be like, okay, if I just ignore its stupid virtual currency and its loot boxes and all that stuff and just pretend it's not there, this game is great.
Yep.
And you know,
the whole cast of Critical Roles in it.
Yes, almost the entire cast. I think there might be like one person from Critical Role that isn't in it.
Yeah.
But speaking of games with fantastic names, Cyber Dimension Neptunia 4 Goddesses Online for the PS4 is coming out on the 10th.
You know,
as well.
it's real hard to get copyright on names, so sometimes you got to go the extra mile.
What else do we have here that
I forgot to mention? Axiom Verge on the 5th coming out for Nintendo Switch.
I don't know what that is.
Axiom Verge is fucking awesome. It's made by one guy.
Oh, okay.
And it's a Metroid. It's very Metroid 1, not Super Metroid, which most games kind of copy. It's fucking rad, and the art style and the music is fucking rad. I'd suggest, I mean, you as a new Switch father, a father of a baby Nintendo Switch, with no games on it, I suggest if you have the money to pick it up, because it's fucking fantastic.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Yeah, it's fucking cool. It's like it's Metroidvania exploration, and then like Metal Slug bosses.
All right.
Uh-huh. It also has a cool name, unlike a lot of modern games.
Yes, that's certainly true. The 13th, we'll have a show before the 13th, won't we? Maybe not. Maybe.
Probably.
Yes, on the 13th, I think, is when our next show is. But Evil Within 2 is coming out then. So that had really cool trailers.
It totally did.
So
I've really, like, I've been on the edge of always playing one of those games because I'm like, they look really cool, you know. And Shinji Mikami is the man. You know, the guy that made Resident Evil and all that. So I'd probably enjoy them. I've just never tried them.
Huh. Well,
anything coming out on my birthday on the 15th?
Yes. Never fear. Tier Owari to, oh, I can't even pronounce it. Hajimari no Suzuku for the PS4.
Well, that's my favorite. That's my favorite.
No, I knew you knew the game. I knew you'd be excited about it because it's really it's a big title for you.
Yeah,
so
I'm really waiting all these 29 years for Owari to Hamaji.
Which I'm almost like, there's no Wikipedia entry for it.
Yeah,
but I'm almost certain it's just a classic JRPG.
Probably.
Anyway, that's about everything that we have to talk about. We actually ended early this week because it was such a light news week.
Yeah.
So deal with it.
Fucking deal with it. I'll say this. Cuphead's really good. Played Cuphead.
Oh, yeah, Cuphead.
In the process of playing Cuphead.
Nice.
Way better than I thought it would be, actually. Very much a Contra-like game, and I suggest it if you like Contra and slightly difficult platforming.
Very cool. Yeah, no, I mean, I just love to... Cuphead's one of the games that I am happy to watch Let's Plays of.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Because in most games, I'm not as interested in doing that because the games that I usually gravitate toward are story-driven games, so I just don't want to spoil stuff for myself. Also, I don't always love people... I don't always love watching people play games when I could be playing a game, but Cuphead, even though I do really like those kind of side-scrolling shooters, Cuphead, because the animation style is so gorgeous, is definitely something I would watch Let's Plays of just to see how cool it looks.
It's fucking gorgeous, and it's not even that. The sound design and the music and like the voice modulation that they do and shit is super spot on. Like everything is, you're like, it's very 1930s. Like
nice.
Everything about it is fucking spot on.
So yeah, definitely, I'm looking forward to seeing more of that. And thanks everybody for listening to this episode of Don't Copy That Floppy. If you want to find the show on social media, we're pretty much everywhere, and you can find us by searching Don't Copy That Floppy Podcast or DCTF Podcast, which specifically is our Twitter handle. And we're probably the most active on Twitter and Facebook. If you feel like supporting the show, you can go and leave us an iTunes rating and review. That always helps. And if you feel like supporting the show and just have way more money than you possibly know what to deal with, you can go to our Patreon by searching Don't Copy That Floppy on Patreon and giving us some money every month and getting access to cool bonus content.
If you happen to be a 1%er that listens to our little ghetto video game news show,
yes, then give us all your money. It's called wealth redistribution, I think.
Yes, it's trickle-down economics.
Yes. So, anyway, thank you so much for listening, and until next time, Chris, what do people have to remember?
Please don't copy the floppy!